In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about Spica Starseeds. I'm going to be sharing information on this galactic race, how to see if you are connected with them, and also what that means for your current life, your current experiences. What are the gifts, the talents, the characteristics that come with that? And I'm going to be channeling information specifically from them. And the last thing I'm excited to share in this video is I'm going to pull up my own chart and talk a little bit more with you about how understanding these past lives directly influence where you are now and what you're experiencing now. But before I get started, I just want to take a moment and say hello. And if you have not found one of my videos before, and this is your first time, my name is Cassandra DeAnn, and I am a certified galactic astrologer. I read the Akashic records. I'm a trance channeler, and I'm a conscious intuitive floral designer. So this video and what I'm sharing is kind of weaving in these skill sets, as well as I'm certified in human design. So I might be talking a little bit about that in my own story as well. So before I dive in too deep, and this might be a meaty video, so get cozy. Um, but I want to take a moment to talk about why that I'm sharing this information. I've taken a pause recently from sharing some videos, going through some life things and adjustments, and I just felt kind of like a fire come under me to record another video and share some information with you. And I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about that. Why is it important? Why is it relevant to be watching videos like this that are talking about galactic races? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And I find that especially in the time we are now, I'm feeling more of a call or urge to be more consistent to share this information. I don't know if you keep track of disclosure, but um, I believe it was, I don't know, the end of last year, maybe the beginning of the year, I did a 12-month long channeling on what the year looks like ahead and some of the very pivotal moments that we might be collectively looking at as it relates to how we're evolving, growing, transitioning, and disclosure. That came up a lot in that channeling. If you wanted to check that I'll provide the link or put it here in the corner for you to view. But that video talked about we are literally in the thick right now of things uncovering and arising. And I strongly feel the only way through this process is going to be in having a relationship with your own inner gut instinct and intuition. Okay, so we've had now even on mainstream news channel, they released information talking about acknowledging four different species. They said Nordic, which is the Pleiadians, the Mantis, I believe, Drancolian, and Greys. You also have a website now, aliens.gov. Now that's very fear-based and talks about we're capturing these things, implying just check it out for yourself. My point is I feel like now more than any time ever is important to start understanding or looking at where this lies in your own soul journey. Now, I feel like the ultimate reasoning, the goal, the why disclosure is so important is because at the end of the day, in trans channeling, what's come through is this isn't because someone's saving us, this isn't because someone wants something from us. A lot of actually why this is happening, why we're being called to be a galactic civilization is because we've evolved to a point in which the Pleiadians in a channeling said that we get to a certain level and there's always kind of that glass ceiling. There's always that point where we go so far and then we come back to fear. Now, one thing I do know about humans is we do tend to be reflective and comparative. So I find it common sense in my brain that if you have these superior galactic beings that are able to like be technology, advanced with technology, have different healing capabilities, running off of fuel, like running off of things outside of fuel, like all of these different things. It's only seems natural that we're going to look at it and be like, and ultimately, the idea is the remembering these beings are not outside of us. They are all aspects of our personal journey. We have those gifts, it's like the person that's really good at a sport, and you're like, oh, cool, I want to do that. Well, you have the capacity. And so when we're uncovering these aspects of our soul journey, which is what I talk about over and over and over and over. I read the Akashic records and I'm an intuitive, not to say like casual things, but to deep dive into the soul's journey and a remembrance of who you are. Okay. So that brings me to the second point when we're talking about disclosure and we're talking about what I'm sharing. I think and this is important, I'm going to slow it down for this one. I think this is one of the most overlooked, simplistic things that can be considered when we're talking about disclosure. And that is what vibrational frequency we actually can hold and function with. You can hear stories about people who, were interviewed by extraterrestrials and passed out. Or even look at your own life experience or times where, you can be in high functioning energy and basically your body just can't collaborate with it. Okay, so what happens is all of it is here, but it's within the remembering. I feel like often we think that raising our vibrational frequency is you have to find the right guru or program or clearing or thing. But a lot of times it's all there within wanting to be realized, which is why I feel like in a lot of guidance, I hear know who you are, remember who you are. Because what happens is as you remember, the clarity starts to come, the more the access of who that was becomes more rises to the surface, and as a natural result your vibration shifts. I have a big part of my own study of understanding myself and my gifts is that people find me in transformative times. That means that they're about to have a jump in their vibration. They're about to have a jump in their gift. They're about to have a shift in their lives. Things that aren't serving them will probably fall away. These are some of the qualities. Well, as that happens, you come more into your fullness. As you come more into your fullness, you come more into your gifts and you come more into a vibrational resonance that then, yes, if the Palladians wanted to show up in your living room, you can actually have a conversation without your body going into shock of like the differences in frequency. I mean, scientifically, just look at what they talk about vibration and how vibration plays. So I think that there is also a part of this on the most basic level that we're learning these things so that we can actually be more in our fullness, which will put us in a vibrational resonance that allows us to evolve forward as a galactic civilization. Okay, that was my little 2 cents. All right, so that said, let's go back to Spica because these videos I'm hoping help individuals understand themselves, understand this information not as a thing outside of them, but a thing that is a part of them and influencing every day what you're experiencing. And I hope that this video, which might be long, will help show you an example of how it's relevant. Okay, so the next thing I want to do before I go any further is I want to take a moment and I am going to connect right from the get-go talking about Spica because I'll be honest, when I started preparing for this video, my vibration started to significantly increase. And just while I'm taking a moment to kind of light some mugwort, this is like one of my favorites for um, preparing an energy space and connecting, I guess I'd say. Um, I had a very mystical experience when I was studying to be a galactic astrologer, where out of my sleep, I was awakened with like my whole body humming. I won't go into all the details, but it was very long lasting and potent. And I knew that I heard at the time, I didn't know what Spica was, but I had heard that there was a speaking being there helping heal and recalibrate my frequency of vibration to hold higher resonance, which is now that I'm thinking of the things I just rabbit holed in the beginning of this, that's probably why. And as I connect with them, I won't be surprised if they're involved in some capacity to having an interest in helping to raise the vibrational frequency of where we are on Gaia, on this planet, on Earth right now. So if you are in a position where you can, I want to invite you to just take a moment and close your eyes, rest into your body. And I'm just going to really quickly connect with the Akashic Records and to Spica. And then we'll continue talking about Spica and their gifts. So just take a moment to breathe while I'm connecting. Beautiful. I feel like some things are already coming through, and I feel like maybe perhaps aspects that wish to be channeled are going to lead this conversation from here out. The first thing is as I'm connecting to their energy frequency, there is a lot of light. I'm sensing this, and what I feel like is coming through is a high capacity to hold, is what I'm hearing. So the first thing I feel like that's coming through they're saying is if you have connections to Spica, chances are very high that you have a capacity to hold vibrational frequency on a high level. Therefore, you may be someone that has gone through your life in having various spells of recalibration as it relates to how you live, how you exercise, how you eat. I am sensing that they do have this quality that is connected to them. It kind of reminds me a bit of like the vegans, which is a Lyran genetic strand. I'm hearing yes. So if you are connected, you may find in your life that there has been periods of times where you've had significant readjustments in how you eat, exercise, or spend your energy physically, is what I'm hearing mostly. You may also be someone, the other thing that is coming up is you may be someone also that is sensitive to, I'm trying to read the signature coming through. No, they don't want me to use the word sensitive. Mindful to where you like I'm sensing like practices of mindfulness in environmental circumstances. So, for example, the visual I'm seeing is it's like a very slow, intentional walk in nature or specific. I'm going to rest by this tree. There's an overall sensitivity. I feel I'm hearing full spectrum on a full scale of vibrational connection to those who are speaking. So this can be, you may be an empath, you may be connected to ley lines, you may be sensitive to things like what is it, feng shui. You may feel connected to nature or drawn to just it feels like intentional living, really, of where you're being what you're surrounding yourself with. Yes, they're saying yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you. There can also, I feel like they're saying there can also be a journey in which speaking souls may be navigating exchange of how comfortable that you might feel with what you're capable of. And this can play out, I feel like I'm hearing in different ways. One is in valuing what you offer, valuing in exchange, valuing within yourself, and the ability to show up. Because part of what I feel like I'm getting here is they're saying to remember is that at their core, there is a softness to this energy frequency. It is very feminine and it honestly has a introverted aspect to it. Everything feels slower and mindful to a degree of what I'm picking up and hearing from their energy. They're saying yes. I just heard no need to rush. Um, Beautiful. Okay, I'm hearing that they want me to go ahead and continue on with some of my notes, and I might get pieces as I go through. So some of this, it might have already been covered, but I'm going to go through it. So first off, Spica in general is in the Virgo constellation, and this is often associated in different ways with either womb of the mother, the divine mother, or feminine. This is also tied in different aspects astrologically and mythically, looking at Virgo being one of the feminine frequencies in constellation, and kind of tying in what would otherwise be considered more masculine. If you go back in history, there is the stories that kind of look at the beginning of Earth and the Milky Way in the sense of the Milky Way and Andromeda colliding, and one having a more feminine expression, one having a more masculine. And so I feel like what's coming up is, again, they're saying slowness. There's a very intentionally rich quality to their frequency, versus this isn't a energy that's like go go go, you know. It doesn't have, I'm an Aries, so it doesn't have that like Aries like, you know, pull towards it. Okay, so if you have incarnated, or have Spica connections, some of the, especially if you've incarnated or had past lives in Spica, you may find that you're sensitive to energy. You may be empathic, gifts for helping others heal through use of your hands. So Spica is very much connected to um, energy and frequency. And I'll be honest, in my own journey, I'm very sensitive to energy in my hands, but yet I've never been drawn necessarily to Reiki. And it's been kind of an ever evolving, yeah, as I'm talking, my hands are lighting up and I'm getting more energy feeling coming online. I've never really felt drawn to Reiki, but it's been an unfolding of understanding how my personal connection to energy sensitivity is. For me, it's more environmental. Hence that my mystical experience with them, it was, I could feel the energy signature, also in the room. I knew that there was a being there. I could pinpoint to where they were, even though I couldn't see it. It was like I could almost energetically map it out, if that makes sense. Okay. So, if you have connections to Spica, you may feel drawn in some capacity. I'm also hearing they're interrupting me and telling me to point out also that when they're talking about hands, this actually has a quality of, I'm hearing a maker, or what you create with your hands. So there's actually saying it's not just healing, which my notes suggested. They're saying also it's the transference of energy through the hands in whatever, including artistic abilities, what you would make. I'm hearing even how you cook. Again, it's very much that intentional feminine quality that they carry. Also I have you may find a pull towards a holistic way of living, which I think they kind of talked about that with the intention and connection. I am hearing them saying, let me tune into this because they're being specific again. There is a connection to land or nature, but it's not like a it is connection to land, nature, animals, but it what I'm hearing is vibration trumps, meaning like what your frequency journey experience is trumps the overall. So like you can be speaking and maybe not really feel like a big draw towards particular nature type things. Your draw may be towards, I'm also hearing a fascination with rocks and crystals, structure, like so again, it could be like it not necessarily, oh, I walk outside barefoot, but you might collect specimens. It's interesting. They're saying it's not interesting, it's vibration resonance. Okay, all right. Allow it to be. Okay, all right. There you have it. Okay, so also in my notes, they are spiritual seekers, so interest in spiritual topics. They also have a gift with being able to connect patterns, um, good with patterns and connections, and they're telling me right now, hence why I might chuckle at the idea of creating like collecting specimens of sorts because I wouldn't have thought that. So that's definitely interesting channeled information. But they said it is connected to study vibrationally of and patterns. So, okay, maybe for those listening that that's not my gift or I get it, but maybe that hits for someone. Maybe that draws a line where you're like, oh yeah, it's this. That'd be interesting to share in the comments if that hits for you. And then yes, connected to nature. Now there are different expressions of speaking beings. There is I am hearing there is a Lyran genetic thread. So basically, if you look at the original physical incarnations, one of the genetics was Lyran, which was a feline looking. So there is a feline expression. So you may, if that resonates, you may find a fascination or drawn to different cat like deities, cats in general, or large cats. Um, there's also various humanoid expressions of past life speakings. Interesting. I'm hearing there is a blue. I'm trying to get a visual of it energetically. There is a blue energetic, not energetic, genetic thread of being. I feel like what it's showing up as, um, it almost looks like somewhat of a mix between human and I'm trying to sense if it's like feline or elven. It feels like it has both of those. Yes, they're saying yes. Both of those qualities in it. Yes. They just keep saying yes. So because it wasn't obvious, it was almost a mannerism of the energy, feline, but yet the ears seemed more elongated, almost elven. Yes. Okay, they keep saying yes. All right, so there you go. For those that enjoy visuals. Um, yeah, and they're saying yes. There's an invitation to connect, and if anything in this language resonated, to tune in to those aspects. Hmm. I'm slowing down because the energy is getting very strong. Okay. Is there anything else before I move on? I think again, I'm going to say it again because it very much feels like if you're watching this, it's possible that how the remembrance wants to come to you is coming through a very visual, direct connection. So I'm really going to encourage you to, if you feel it, and I sense you'll feel it in your gut, that this is like, oh, I watched Cassandra's video. Now I have a homework project. I need to sit down. And I'm also hearing cacao. I don't know if that's something you feel comfortable with, but it very much feels like a journey, shamanic, if I'm being honest. I feel like there's a call, an invitation that who this is for. There's like a very deep, almost shamanic call to connect visually, not just like, oh yeah, that's cool, we're connected, visually connected to remembrance of this frequency. Yes, yes, yes. They're saying yes, that there is exchange in codes of some sort that can be exchanged. Yeah, because I was trying to feel if it's something rising up. It feels like there is, but it very much feels like an activation invitation to go on a journey. Something that is wants to be gifted. Okay. Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. I'm going to disconnect with this energy so I can move forward with a clearer head. Um, it's just like a euphoric feeling. It's beautiful. Thank you to Spica energy. Mm. Please disconnect. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Ooh, all right, that was fun. Now I want to go and share a little bit with you. So I'm going to share this chart with you. So I am, as I said, certified galactic astrologer. I'm not going into the galactic astrology chart today. In some of my other past videos I have, you're more than welcome to go check those out. But it's kind of like information I've already covered. So check it out there. This is what I want to do. I've been talking a lot about asteroids lately, and I've been sharing how these are significant in adding rich layers to or greater depths of understanding to our journey. And I wanted to kind of share a little piece of this with you as it relates to Spica today, and how this is playing out in my life. So I have had a past incarnation in Spica. Like I said, I feel like this energy is very much working with me in this life. And I feel like maybe, like I talked in the beginning, my passion for understanding your vibrational resonance, man, my nose is tickling. um, Understanding your vibrational resonance and how that influences how you're living. So, what I want to share with you is Actually, I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick. I want to share with you a little bit of my story and then we'll look at this connection. Okay, so this is how Spica has played out in my own journey. So I've shared in other videos that my soul origin is a blueprinter. If you're curious about that, I can also share a video on that, what that means. But basically, it is a group incarnated original origin of consciousness that had an archetype. A big aspect of Blueprinter's journey is balancing of the head and heart. Okay. Another fascinating thing I found through my studies in galactic astrology, which was introduced by Julia Belaz. Julia talks about one of the common threads in blueprinters is that often they have a memory of some sort of past life where they were essentially just creating some sort of organic or plant-like material because this was before physical incarnation. So it's kind of like this energy of light beings that were doing some sort of creation. And we can see aspects of this if you go to Dolores Cannon's book, Keeper of the Garden, and that kind of plays a little bit in that as well. So, sure enough, when I looked into my past lives and my first physical incarnations, I had a physical incarnation on Orpheus, which I was in these, I mean, it was so vivid. It was like there were these um almost like energetic, like, but sacred geometry like dome things. I don't know how to say it. And I, day in, day out, was working with various development and scientific connections with plant-like material, which when I uncovered that life, I thought, well, that's really strange because I've never kept a plant alive in my life. Well, that's different now. I have now. But at the time, I didn't hear anything about this thread. And so when I read that and discovered that through Julia, it was very affirming because I thought, oh my gosh, like this helps me understand because this piece I didn't quite get. So when I read that, when I discovered that, it was very affirming. So from there, then it was like I wanted more as a soul. It was this desire of, okay, this was this was a thing. I wanted to have connection. Well, what's fascinating is I also then incarnated on Capella. Now, this life, I don't want to go in through all the details. I've actually shared this as well in other videos, but basically, I wanted to connect. I wanted to be a caretaker. I wanted to have family. I wanted to have those human experiences. So in the physical incarnation, this was so important. Well, what happened is this was at an early time in which there was Draconian War and Orion Wars, and there essentially was a situation in which I was prompted to use my gifts in a way that was kind of like, okay, do this and your family will be safe. Do this for us and we'll protect them. So I used my gifts and it ended up being I used my gifts not for good. And it caused a lot of guilt and shame. And ultimately, I ended up dying in that life. It wasn't one of my greatest past lives. But in reflection here, you can look at my Orpheus life was all gifts, all connection, it was nothing but being the highest expression, spiritual, connecting with nature, developing no human engagement, and then wanting something so bad that I didn't trust myself or read it properly and was manipulated into continuing a way of living that was under the false pretense that, okay, I do this and they're safe. But it ended up not being true. There was death and I died as well. To then I incarnated on Spica. Now, just to be clear, a lot of times things are not linear when I'm reading for clients. For some particular reason, these lives were sort of presented to me in a somewhat linear fashion. Now, that could be actualized, or that could just be in, the consciousness development at that time. But either way, in this, I incarnated to Spica in an effort to heal my relationship with using my gifts. And I lived a fairly introverted life where I did establish connection. I had family. I was a mother, and I felt like a mother to many there in my community. But for the most part, it was a very introverted life where there was a lot of healing and getting comfortable again with my gifts. Okay, so now I want to share with you my screen again. Okay, so here we have the placements I want to show you in my chart where this lands. So my Pluto is pretty conjunct my ascendant. As you can see, my sun is on my descendant. So I also have Lilith. Now I use True Lilith, that it resonates for me the most. And I have Spica. And I also have an asteroid, Melpomene, which is the muse of tragedy. So here we have this cluster of players that I'm going to kind of talk about for a minute. Now, you can see when you look here, this cluster in my chart is very relevant to a lot of different things. There's a lot of squares to the exact point of my midheaven, which your midheaven is your highest point, the legacy you leave behind, your reputation. So it is interesting because your ascendant can also be looked at the first impressions, how you are perceived. There's also levels of the ascendant that is, I feel, connected to the personal journey, because when we're looking in the houses, the first house is where there is the birth. This is the body. This is the entered into the incarnation in that aspect. So then we get to the second house, which is like, okay, this is me incarnated. This is what I value. This is what's important to me. The houses very much have a theme of evolution. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this again. I think for now, that's all I wanted to point out. I might reference this again, but you can see these aspects are in direct opposition of my sun. They are in square to my midheaven. They actually have fairly favorable placements here to my Neptune, which is in my third house of Sagittarius. Okay, so this is what I want you to kind of see, and I want to walk you through. When we're talking about Spica, when we're talking about any galactic past lives, what I find in the soul records is the journey is reflective of the experience now. I shared with you this arc. Now, the Muse of Tragedy, let's talk a little bit about what this is. This is a Greek energy. A few other fun facts about this is she was also considered the mother of the sirens, and believed to be possibly like a bird-like and human-like being. But the idea, the concept behind this is it is with the witnessing of someone having a gift, a something, a talent, and seeing what it takes, the full arc of the journey. We can look at it in similar aspects. You could see the hero's journey. It's like you set out for that thing, that desire, that experience, and you come to terms with the friction in life to where you come out on the other side. So this is very much about witnessing that part of the journey. Now, the other thing that I find fascinating about this is that part of her story is she originally wasn't associated with tragedy, but also it is the kind of the seeing and witnessing that is, in a sense, it's like they talk about, they tie in when you read about her, like the chorus, and it's like the subtle humming of what is known before it's realized and experienced. So another part of this is it can be that part of our energy frequency gave word or gave a voice to things before they could actually be spoken or before they could actually be realized, which is another fascinating part. Okay. So there's an arc in her witnessing the arc. Well, in what I've shared, there is very much an arc in my connection to Spica and in my connection this life. Going from a life of wanting to have connection, wanting it so bad that it caused the tragedy, the trauma, the grief, the guilt, all the things that then had to be incarnated again to, heal the recovery, the rebuilding. And then we have this life because here we again have these placements are in my first house. So in this life, my journey, a big part of it has been being comfortable to come forward in the unique things and gifts I have. I recorded a short the other day that talked about like I was literally channeling Bigfoot. I mean, the experiences I've had have been things that feel not always comfortable to come forward in. So if you look at it as the life I wanted to connect, I was forward with my gifts, but I was imbalanced, so they weren't used good. So then I retreated, I pulled back, I hermited, I healed. Okay, now my gifts are okay, but I'm gonna keep them private so they're not really recognized and noticed. So no one's like, hey, Cassandra, like you should do this, and then it ends up being this tragedy. So there has been this story arc which very much aligns, I feel like, to this asteroid and the witnessing of coming into my fullness. And when you look at my chart, like I said, this in direct tension with my midheaven, which there's a lot more asteroids I could go into about that. That is very much about being seen publicly, comfortably within the fullest essence of all aspects and pieces of what I was. So Spica was starting that journey, and I'm not surprised that they have walked with me in this life from increasing my vibration, helping me become comfortable with my gifts, understanding more about myself so that I can finally come full circle and being seen and received within my gifts, my ability, which Spica very much is about energy. A lot of what I do is about energy and being in balance with self. We look at Lilith is in this cluster too. Well, it's fascinating because another layer to this I find interesting is Lilith was the one that was cast out because of her power. Interestingly, I've been disowned by my parents. I've been cast out even before my awakening. And part of my coming into my fullness since that journey is learning to understand who I am and that not to be smaller, not to come with explanations, and to embrace my fullness. Lilith is all about reclaiming of power. So here we have, Lilith, encouraged me on to reclaim my power. Pluto saying death, rebirth, transformation, all about personal power. And Spica holding hands through this. Spica, we've held you when you were broken. We've worked with you. You can do this, and kind of cheering me on in this journey. And of course, got to pronounce it right, Melpomene witnessing the whole process. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I think it's cool. So it has been very impactful understanding my speak in past life to understand how I'm living this life, the gifts I have, and being able to come forth in these things has been an important part of my soul's desired experiences. So if you are curious to find more about your own life and how, if you've had a past life on Spica or what your connections are, I have some incredible offers right now. For one, you can do a reading with me. It's a wonderful opportunity to look into your Akashic records, your past lives. If this is all new, my discovery session will walk you through your galactic connections. You're going to walk away with your astrology chart, your galactic astrology chart. We're going to talk about human design. And how that ties in, but all at your pace and all at where your guides are leading. And if you just want to kind of dip your toes in, you can try booking my asteroid study reading. This is something right now that I'm offering, and this is a very in-depth study of your astrology chart as it relates to the asteroids. We're not getting into galactic astrology for that, so that won't be the reading for you. You would want the discovery reading if that's an area you want to discover with Spica. But if you aren't there yet, but you want to explore how the cosmos, the asteroids are influencing your journeys now, there is some potent information. It's something you purchase, you get a PDF. It's like 12 plus pages. A lot of them are around 16 plus, and it walks you through everything. You don't have to know how to study astrology. It'll spell it out for you. It'll share with you information of your possible past life that are earth-based. It'll share with you what your gifts and talents are. It'll share with you the repeating themes you could be experiencing in your life and some of the biggest challenges that you may be navigating and how you can break through. So invaluable information that is something that can be reflected on time and time and time again as it unfolds. So these are some of the ways you can work with me if you feel called. Otherwise, feel free to stay in touch, subscribe. I'd love if you subscribe, that, like the video, leave me a comment, share if you enjoyed something. I really, truly do love connection on these things. Well, as you can see, I just talked about my past lives and wanting connections. So, all right, thanks for watching. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.